Thank you for your kind words. But I think I do need to tell my team to update that a little bit. I'm currently serving as the chairman for the Thai Global Board of Trustees. It's with immense pride I say that I'm the first one from the south of India and the first Telugu person to hold that post in the 33 years history of our eminent organization. So, and I say that with a lot of pride. And thank you, Professor Visarakshi. I want to begin thanking the host Vice Chancellor, Dr. Injulu Meduri. Thank you for hosting us here. This is my second time at this particular beautiful campus. And indeed, every time I come here, I learn something new. And I think you've been doing a rapid progress. Rahul, it's great to see you again. It's so wonderful. And I was just telling Professor Sadhrbudi that God has been very kind to me. Kind in a lot of sense that Providence has taken over certain transformations in my life. And I've never expected that I will have an opportunity again to interact with Rahul on this particular platform. A dear friend of mine had connected me and Rahul a few years ago. And I had the utmost honor and the privilege to be honored by Rahul and his father in his campus. And that was the first time I experienced the humility and the humbleness of the entire Karad family. So very, very fortunate to have you invite me here. Professor Sitaram Garu, thank you for the leadership and what you are bound to do wonders. I don't think I can match the passion with which Rahul has explained what the transformation which requires in the education sector. And I think I was telling Professor Sahasrabudhe that and he has taken some notes, and I think I will get to hear the changes which, the leaders like you are trying to make. And I say that it is an honor because I'm not an academician. All along, the only thing I eaten, drank, or bred is entrepreneurship. But the only one thing which is common to me is that I'm a son of a professor. My dad was a professor of mathematics at JNTU, and that is what brought my family from a very remote area of Rayalaseema, Hindupur, to this great city of Hyderabad. And for that, I am thankful to the gods. And that is what I was telling you, Professor. That is, I am indeed a providence-driven individual. And I think as Rahul was mentioning what the institutions have to do, and I do have the same thing, right? You all have built great institutions. You all have inspired change. You all have weathered storms. So it is not about running harder as your next step. It is about building something which outlasts all of you, all of us together. And how do we become immortal in that sense? How do we become immortal? By creating impact. So what does that really mean when we talk about immortality? Can you all inspire with vision? What do I mean by that? Leaders in higher education must dare to see a future where India and also the Bharat is not only the world's talent factory. Today, unfortunately, the entire world, the US which we talk about, the Europe which we talk about, the Australia which we talk about, only looks India as a talent factory. But can we see India as an ideation engine? Can you all, the leaders who are sitting here, can you all inspire your faculty, your students, your community with a vision that extends beyond NAAC scores or NIRF rankings? Can this be driven with vision of purpose, possibility, and global relevance? So I have a call for action for you guys. Can one bold future-focused idea your institution can commit by 2030? Share it with your community, not with me, not with the leaders here, but share it with your community and thus your institutions. Can you all manifest resilience? We all have been taught what resilience is during our pandemic. Though our systems failed, but we all as leaders came together to adapt, to endure. Whether it is curriculum overhauling, whether it is retaining the faculty, or it is embracing the hybrid learning, resilience has become our greatest asset. Can we institutionalize that resilience, but not as an emergency protocol, but as a culture of adaptive thinking? So I have a second action to call. Identify one challenge in your university has faced in last 24 months. What did you all learn? And what did you change? Now, can we all maximize the opportunities? Education is not just a service. I know you said, Rahul, we are not a business-oriented this thing. Why not? It cannot be just a service-oriented, while we all look for it to be a service. It is a platform. Today's crisis in climate, today's crisis in healthcare, and jobs are all entrepreneurial opportunities for student ventures, research labs, and public-private collaboration. Can we all think about that? And that brings me to a point which I am here and which I am invited for, and that is TiE. TiE is a 33-year-old organization. We are a 15-country based with 65 chapters, more than 15,000 members, impacted more than 500,000 entrepreneurs. We have created trillions of dollars of direct wealth. We have invested $50 billion of investments into startups. If you think about Google, the first check was written by Professor Rajiv Motwani. We never talk about it because TiE is an organization where we act as a catalyst. Today, I am standing in front of you, requesting all the academicians in this room to be part of our global program called TiE University, where we empower entrepreneurs, where we empower students to become entrepreneurial mindset. We don't encourage them to quit their education, while we do appreciate if they do quit and create employment. But my call to action to all the academicians here is please reach out to your local nearest TiE chapter. Otherwise, please write to me. My email ID is murali@tie.org. And I must recognize my partner in crime here from TiE Pune, our charter member, Ravi Bharadwaj. Ravi, wherever you are, can you just wake up and just say hello? He's right here. Please reach out to Ravi. He's on the global team of TiE University. He will do the needful. So can we all take that opportunity? This isn't a club, but it is a movement. And I am inviting from this stage for all of you to join that movement. Now, my fourth one, can we all optimize action? Vision without action is a fantasy. Are we taking daily steps towards transforming the education? Are our syllabi is future aligned? Are we industry integrated? Are we measuring what matters? Can we set one metric that reflects long-term student impact, not just the job placement rate? My friends, job placement should not be the criteria for the academicians. Can we reinvent ourselves constantly? Our students are changing. The world is changing. The question we must ask for the next 2 days is, are we changing? Let's reinvent our institutions as living organisms, responsive, agile, and learner-centric. Artificial intelligence, climate science, mental health, these are not electives anymore. These are essentials. Further call for action. What one new program your institution can pilot in next one academic year that did not exist 5 years ago? I do want to talk about one incident. I know most of you can see that I have something on my glasses, a plaster. This is because almost about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I had gotten an orbital decompression to my eye. That comes because of a hyperthyroidism, which again comes because of the stress. I'm not saying that entrepreneurship is stress related. Of course it is. You have to, every month, you have to worry about how do you pay your bills or how do you pay your salaries for your employees. That might have something to do with my hyperthyroidism. that induced part behind my optic nerve that required an optical decompression. So when I went to the doctor, I wanted to look pretty. The doctor was prescribing me until I settled down. It takes about 3 or 4 months. The answer was something called as a prism glasses. And the prism glasses would have costed me about 20,000 rupees for a usage of 30 or 45 days. But at the same time, I'll take 3 minutes. She gave me 2 minutes. I asked for 1 minute extra. So then one of the doctor who heads the innovation at LV Prasad, one of the premier eye hospitals in the country, happens to be in Mana Hyderabad. So proud of them. The doctor said, Murli, you can attach an opaque tape which costs you less than a rupee, for the entire thing. So that is what I've done. So I've not gone for the beauty, but I've gone for the usability. So can we reinvent ourselves constantly? And that is my further call of action for all the academicians here. Now, transformative culture. Beyond infrastructure, it is a culture that defines greatness. Are we celebrating innovation? Can we encourage curiosity? Can we support failure as a learning path? A truly transformative culture nurtures not only scholars but social architects. Host a cross-disciplinary student innovation day where ideas are not grades are rewarded. Aspire beyond the now. My friends, legacy is not built on routine. It is built on aspiration. Can our institutions be the next Stanford, MITs, or Harvard? Why not? If we inspire for global relevance, as you mentioned, Rahul, we must set standards that don't just reflect the past, they shape the future. Can we all come together in the next 2 days, draft a 10-year institutional vision? Is it exciting enough to attract your own children as the students of your own institution? I see several young academicians in this hall. Can you all reflect? Can you want to send your own children to the institutions where you are teaching? Can we all lead with legacy? I'm coming to the last 1 minute of my speech. The question is not how will you be ranked this year? The real question is, will the students you graduate be the kind of leader world needs 20 years from now? Can we all build policies, programs, and partnerships that your successors thank you for? That is, my friend, legacy. Can we all take up one initiative which you can launch this year that your institution will still be proud in 2050, not 2030, but in 2050? In closing, I want to call upon all my dear friends, all the academic leaders here. You are not just heads of the institution. You are the builders of dreams, the gatekeepers of possibility, and the custodians of this great country, India, what I call as Bharat's future. Let us not all be remembered for how well we ran our universities, for how powerfully we transformed the lives that passed through them. With that, I want to give you a very small narrative of my dad. My dad is a professor of mathematics. In fact, before he became professor, he was a reader in mathematics. Fortunately, as I was telling Professor Satrabudhe, that I am driven by providence, and so I believe my dad was. He had a very close acquaintance with the late Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Dr. N.T. Ramarao Garu. In those days, there was no computer science education in the undergrad, in the regular colleges. So, the education was mathematics and physics and chemistry. My dad, coming from Hindupur, the constituency of N.T. Ramarao, he went to N.T. Ramarao at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and he pleaded N.T. Ramarao to change the optional subject of chemistry into the computer science. That changed the education of BSc Computer Science in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And that, my friend, what I would want all the academicians in here to take a 2050 plan and what you all should be doing so that one policy change all your friends, all your future leaders can you all be proud of. Let us all come together, not build not just a success, but let us all build something immortal. Jai Hind. Thank you.